Now is not the time to panic, Broncos country. Now is the time for Orange and Blue Today. With canned rock music, with Cecil Lammey. Yes, I just went third person. With Andrew Mason. One game against the Texans.
I just realized you didn't get the graphic slide today, did you? I thought I sent it to you.
No, you haven't sent it to me yet, baby. That's okay.
I did send it. It just didn't make it to you.
It's okay. Yeah. Well, there we go. Technology, right? I'm sure I'll get it.
Not the first time that I had an email get lost in the shuffle here in the last few days.
Right. Yeah, I wonder what's going on.
Tech is not my friend.
I wonder what's going on there. I wonder what they're doing. I never know what he's doing. I know what we're doing. We're talking about the Denver Broncos and what adjustment Sean Payton can make. Mace, I think we might see a second half script, and it's something Sean Payton's even talked about.
Yeah, because you start there. The Broncos, they have won 9 coin tosses this year. They've won it 9 times.
9 times.
As Ed Rooney would say. And when they win the coin toss, they defer their option and thus receive the kickoff to start the second half. And yet, by and large, these second half opening drives have been phenomenally unsuccessful, including going 3 and out and going backwards to open the second half against Houston on Sunday, which is why you start thinking, okay, is there something we can do? Sean Payton, like many coaches, does his openers to start the game, the script as they were, the 15 plays, and he said he's looking into having something similar for the second half that you would rehearse in practice, and thus there'd be a sense of preparation that doesn't exist at other junctures in the game.
Right. And I'm not against that, Mace. I would counter with this. What about their adjustments? You essentially have to predict what the adjustments will be based on the success that you did or did not have with your first half game plan.
Exactly. So I think when you do the script, you kind of have to have a couple of different directions in which you can go, right? Maybe what we're talking about is you have, say, the 15 plays at the start. Maybe you pare back the opening script to, say, 10 plays and then have a second half script that is 10 plays, but it's 10 plays that can go in one of 2 different directions. Like, okay, if we're seeing this, we're going to go with this. If we have to make an adjustment, we're going to go with this script. So maybe it's like you've got a 10-play script to start, and then you've got a couple of 5-play scripts for the second half, and you're sort of playing choose your own adventure on it based on what you have seen from the Chargers in the first half, right? Choose your own adventure. Did you ever have those books when you were a kid?
I had Mad Libs, so I guess it's a little bit different, but
I love those. Like if if you pick up the lightsaber, turn to page 7. If you choose to go into the cave, go to page 10, right? Mm-hmm. And kind of go from there. I love that stuff. I'm such a once a nerd, always a nerd, Cease.
All right. And I would ask you the question, if you're going to choose the cave, what's in there?
Only what you take with you.
I knew you'd get that. Broncos in that script, it needs to have echoes. We're quoting George Lucas here with 3 minutes into the show, but like it has to rhyme. What you do in the first half should set up what you're doing in the second half. It's a Shanahan thing. Like it just makes sense. The question then becomes, can your quarterback run it?
There were some procedural issues Sunday, okay? Towards the end, there were issues in terms of reading the full field. You've talked about it. How many times have you talked about Russell Wilson half field, not full field, right?
Right.
And we got into it last week. CJ Stroud for Houston doing full field reads. We discussed that quote from an unnamed defensive coordinator, and we can debate with the ethics of hiding behind anonymity. You can say one thing for Sean Payton: when he criticized Nathaniel Hackett back in July, he put his name out there, right? Put his name out there, and he didn't say, oh, well, it was off the record and it was... No, to his credit, he owned it, right?
Yeah.
But the whole thing of the unnamed defensive coordinator saying Sean Payton is calling plays as though Russ is rookie quarterback. Whereas in Houston, young Bobby Slowick, he's not really young anymore, but the fact that we covered his dad as a defensive coordinator in
Right.
Denver, Bob
Right.
Slowick makes that perspective happen. Bobby Slowick calling plays for C.J. Stroud as though he's been in the Shanahan-McVay offense for several years now.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is one of the most complex languages in the entire league, if not the most complex.
Mm-hmm. And it's failed a lot of people. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
look, Drew Locke had trouble with it, right?
That's
That
why
was-
Scangarello had to tell him to play in his ear.
Mm-hmm. It's also why, not just the injury, why did they not put Drew Locke out there until December? It wasn't just that he had the finger injuries, that they were trying to get him mentally up to speed. It's tough.
Yeah.
It is a very difficult offense to get down. It can take some players years. Some never get it. I mean, you think back now, Paxton Lynch, 2016, trying to run a sibling of this offense under Gary Kubiak. Of course, it wasn't going to work. He was too busy playing Fortnite. I mean,
it was Madden. I was his Xbox friend. It was Madden. It was Madden. It wasn't Fortnite. It was Madden.
at least it was football. How do you know he wasn't doing both? How do you know he wasn't doing-
You can tell what people have been playing. Unless you're like me, I go Ninja on my Xbox because I try to play PUBG every day. It's when I shut my brain off because
Yeah.
I'm an overthinker. So I like to have at least one time a day where I get to shut my brain off. So I'm Ninja, so you can't see that I'm online, but you could see when Paxton was online and he was playing a lot of Madden,
Did
Madden,
you
and it's
play
about
against
fit.
him?
Yeah, when he
Who
liked
won?
me.
How badly did you beat
Oh,
Paxton Lynch? at Madden?
not that badly,
Okay.
but still, it's one of those
Was he
things.
the Broncos or did he beat?
No, he was the
another team?
Broncos. He was, of course, he's
Okay.
taking himself. Right?
Did he play himself though?
Yes.
Or did he play?
Yes. No,
Okay.
It didn't. It
Well,
wasn't
you'd
putting Trevor in
imagine
the
that-
game.
I was gonna say you'd imagine that that Trevor Simeon probably had a higher rating than Paxton Lynch on the game,
Yes, he
right?
did. Yes, he did. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and it's about fit, right? That's what we're talking about in this whole conversation, even the conversation about Russ and Sean Payton. It's about fit. And do you fit what your coach wants to do? What can you do? And I might have misinterpreted it, Mace, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But the Lucas Kroll play to finish the game, I had said, like, hey, Kroll didn't know what he was doing because he's standing there like this, right? Well, Sean Payton's comments kind of made it seem like there was supposed to be motion. He basically said there's supposed to be motion on that play. He kind of implied that Russell Wilson didn't get that formation right before the snap, and that's why it was street ball, Sean Payton's words.
Mhm. Yeah. That conference call yesterday, I think, was an eye opener. And in terms of the narrative around Russell Wilson, maybe even a turning point, right? That was the one where I felt like frustration with what the offense doesn't have in its tool belt right now. I feel like that's the moment where it started to just eke out. Like the facade was cracking a bit, right?
Right.
And of course, it was a game where you didn't have the takeaways in your favor to buoy your chances of winning, and instead they went against you with 3 picks. And look, they weren't the worst interceptions in the world, right? It wasn't like Trevor Simeon trying to throw out of bounds and throw it away in Buffalo in 2017 and getting picked off, right?
Right.
Just because he didn't have enough on the ball to throw it away. Didn't have enough fuel in the tank. But they were there nonetheless. And it's also the open pass catchers. I mean, in particular, Jerry Jeudy, open on that 4th and 1, right? Wide open.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's touchdown if you get there accurately. If you throw it and get there accurately. I'm a numbers guy. but you go beyond the surface level numbers and you go to like he's got a he has a negative EPA, expected points added, per play since week 5. Does Russell Wilson? That puts him down there in territory with Tyson Bagent in Chicago, filling in for Justin Fields.
Right.
Puts him down there with Bryce Young, who struggled so mightily in his rookie season in Carolina, right? Zach Wilson in New York. The company he's keeping there is pretty dadgum shaky.
It's not good. And I believe it was your latest piece at denversports.com, Mace, that said in the 200-yard games, like Mac Jones, he's like right with Mac Jones, or Mac Jones might have more 200-yard games than he does, something like that. I heard Stokely and Josh talking about it. So I was like, huh. Well, Mason and I'll talk about it because we have to have this Russell Wilson conversation. And it's not just the Texans game. It's the entire season, and then it's these 5 games. I think the future of Russell Wilson is yet to be determined. I think there's a way the team is leaning. I believe you agree with me, but I don't think anything's in pen yet. Like it's all like we think this is going to happen, but Russ can change their minds.
Let's go back 11 years ago. Joe Flacco changed the Baltimore Ravens' minds. Remember when he was in his 5th year, and their narrative in mid-December, when Chris Harris Jr. is going coast to coast in Baltimore with a pick 6, and the Broncos are burying the Ravens in Baltimore, something they never do, right? Like Baltimore is just a horrible, awful place for the Broncos to play football games.
Yes.
Going all the way back to the Colts days. I mean, they lost a game there in 78 they had no business losing. Yeah, Baltimore's a house of horrors for the Broncos. And on that day, it wasn't. And so after that game, you would have thought, Ravens moving on from Joe Flacco. There's no more of this. This is done. What happens? Ravens get into the playoffs, get hot. Joe Flacco becomes a reason why they succeed. And boom, Joe Flacco gets a long-term contract.
And he was unconscious during that, right? He was unconscious. Like he was touchdowns, interception ratio was out of his mind with the visionary of Jim Caldwell taking over on offense.
Yeah, for Cam Cameron. They fired Cam Cameron, brought in Jim Caldwell, someone that we all respect. And
yes.
Boom, they got the results they wanted. Now we can debate whether that was a wise move on the part of the Ravens to give Joe Flacco that extension. That contract was something of an albatross, right? But it shows how the narrative can change. This is not done. There is room for Russell Wilson to consolidate his position and be on the roster for the 5th day of the league year next March, which ensures that he's back with the Broncos for at least 2 more seasons. There is a path to that. We just have to let it bear out. But if the call were made today, Cecil, I don't know that it would be in favor of Russell Wilson coming back as the quarterback.
Right. And that's why the adjustments that Sean Payton will make, listen, we have to give it up to Russ for doing what the coach wants him to do. We also have to give it up to the coach and Sean Payton for adjusting, for fixing things in what his quarterback can do. So if there's second half adjustments, Mace, it's again praising Sean Payton for he could easily have moved on from Russ by now. You can't do what I want. We're going to bench you. We're going to, whatever. He hasn't. He's been finding ways to make this work.
Mm-hmm. Well, one aspect of Sean Payton, it's what he has in common with his fellow 2000 New York Giants coordinator, John Fox, a former Broncos coach. What they both have in common is that you try to maximize the team that you have and get the most out of it, right? You're not playing the tank game. You're not playing suck. Back then it was suck for luck, right? Andrew Luck when he was heading in the 2012 draft. You don't play that game. You try to wring the most out of that team at that moment. In 2011 for the Broncos, it was rewriting the offense for Tim Tebow. In 2023 for the Broncos, it was after the first 4 games that included not only 3 losses, but also some significant procedural issues. I mean, false starts were a huge problem, right? They had to go back to 0 in terms of their pre-snap process. And even now, A few weeks later, they've cut the false starts a couple of months down the line, but it's still something that is clunky at times. And in terms of the process of play to QB, QB to team, team getting up to the line of scrimmage, it's still not as ideal and as smooth as you would want it to be.
Not as ideal, not as smooth, but you're trying to win games and you do what you can. I've told the story before, Mace. I'll keep it brief, but one of my dear friends, one of my best friends is Russ Landy, who's now in Canada running the Alouettes, but he worked with the Rams as Dick Vermeil's right-hand man, and John Fox was briefly with the Rams. And he told Russ, and this was a young John Fox, and he told Russ at the time, he's like, I'm going to be a head coach someday. I'm going to hire Tom Osborne, and I'm going to run the blank and wishbone. So, and I always gave Mike McCoy credit. Here was I was wrong. I always gave Mike McCoy credit. Like, Mike McCoy changed the offense in that season. No, he didn't. He didn't want to. That was a Foxy call. Fox
told him you're going to change the offense.
Yes, Foxy said, blanket, we're going to run the ball.
Yeah, and the other thing is also the other hero of that story is somebody who eventually did some wonderful things with Peyton Manning. That was Adam Gase.
Yes.
In terms of
Yep.
being the person working with Tim Tebow every day and kind of massaging that, dealing with the limited skill set and maximizing it. But it started with Fox, like, you know, and this look, it's no surprise because back when he was in Carolina, John Fox was the one who unveiled the Wildcat, right? When the Panthers had quarterback injuries and Chris Wenke was filling in and struggling, and they didn't trust him to throw the ball. They went down to Atlanta and they ran Wildcat, and pulled off an upset of the Falcons. And that sort of adaptability and resourcefulness, that's good coaching. Sean Payton's a very good coach. The fact that you have a quarterback who at this point has some limitations in terms of what he can do, and yet you have found a path. On defense, there were some limitations there. You found a path to get from 1-5 to now 6-6 and being right there in the thick of the playoff race. And it's because everybody was willing to adjust. That starts from the top. It's to their credit. It's also why you look at how the Broncos' outlook is going to be for the next several years. I can't see them ever having a really bad season with Sean Payton. A frustrating season that finishes somewhere in the muddled middle, yes. He had some of those in New Orleans. There were 3 straight 7-9 seasons.
7-9, yeah.
But a season where the bottom falls out, that's one thing I can't see happening with Sean Payton, because he's always going to adapt and be resourceful to what's in front of him and figure out a way to make this work. So for those who hope, oh, well, you know, someday maybe you get a top 5 pick, I don't think that's happening on Sean Payton's watch. So that's another thing. If you move on from Russell Wilson, what are you doing at quarterback? That's an answer for another day.
Yeah.
If they move on from Russell Wilson, we're going to have plenty of shows to talk about that as we get into the off season.
Oh yeah.
Because our quarterback search goes a little bit deeper than just Drake May, Caleb Williams. Although I think this was from Matt Miller yesterday.
Okay.
Suggesting that the bottom of the draft isn't going to have those QB values that you would normally see, because with NIL and the transfer portal and the chance to cash in.
It's a pay cut.
Yeah. If you're a 4th to 7th round quarterback at a high level college program, yeah, it's a pay cut to go to the NFL for your first year, unless you're able to maintain those sponsorships. And you're going from being a starting quarterback at a major college to being a second or third teamer with the NFL. All of a sudden, you have less visibility. If the Riley Leonard example, right? He's going to be in the transfer portal. Looks like he's going to Notre Dame. Riley Leonard's probably going to be a 7-figure player this coming year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Why did Sam Hartman transfer from Wake Forest to Notre Dame? He could have come out last year, been a 3rd or 4th round pick. He's a dude I like a lot in that mid-round range. I think the Broncos will probably take a look at Sam Hartman if they go quarterback shopping this year and it's beyond the first round. He may well be a dude who can run that Sean Payton offense, right?
Yep.
But Sam Hartman probably earned more at Notre Dame than he's going to earn in the NFL his first year.
Right. And that's why if you find your guy, go get your guy, and you may have to wait for your guy if indeed he does stay because of
And you,
NIL.
and you may have to roll the dice on an injury concern, Michael Penix. Um, shoot, and I go to the Ron Wolf school of even if you've got the guy at quarterback, you keep adding.
Yeah.
I'd throw a 7th round pick at Jordan Travis, see where he goes coming off of that leg injury, right?
Oh yeah.
Let him sit out a year. I mean, there
Well,
are some traits there that were going to make him a mid-round pick. Now he's got that injury. Oh, why not use a 7th round pick on him, right? Why not?
there's a pick that we will talk about forever if he works out, and his name is Hendon Hooker. That was the Broncos
Ooh.
pick that the Lions got, and they chose Hendon Hooker, who is
And he's
exactly
sitting-
the example of what you're talking about.
And where is he right now? That's another thing. You bring that up. What team is he playing for?
Detroit. They already got Jared Goff.
Who's their coach?
Sean Payton disciple.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I always say this to people, like, you had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, but in the meantime, you also had Aaron Brooks. You had Mark Brunell. Kurt Warner had a cup of coffee there. You drafted
Matt
Brian
Hasselbeck.
Braum. You had Matt Hasselback. And Braum was a 2nd-round pick who had Peyton Manning comparisons, not by me, but I have in this bookcase right next to me, like, all the Sporting News draft previews and all the Phil Steele's for the last 25 years.
So
yeah, it's fun to go back and look at those old draft comparisons. And Brian Braum draft comparison, Peyton Manning. Didn't exactly work out like that.
Oh, but you know what? It doesn't always hit. You have to keep
No.
tossing the darts.
Yep.
It's not about doing it once and being done. You look back at mistakes the Broncos made over the years that led them to missing the playoffs for 7 consecutive seasons. Well, one of them was after the 2019 season saying, okay, we're good with Drew Locke. Even though you love Justin Herbert, you probably still should have traded up for Justin Herbert.
Yep.
And now you're going to see Justin Herbert on Sunday.
And you're going to have to make those kind of moves because, like you said, with Sean Payton, you're never going to truly be awful.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to move assets if you want to move up. If you find your guy, go get your guy. Mark asked if we see Stidham this week. I don't think so, Mace, but here's the thing.
So, no.
Over the next 5 games, does Jarrett Stidham play due to a Russell Wilson benching? The odds are larger than you think, but it's not this week. It would have to be later on. It would have to be a couple of games of Russ struggling, and the Broncos would be out of the playoffs. Something like that. I could see that scenario.
Or they're on their last leg.
Desperation.
That is a bullet you do not want to fire.
Yeah, you can't take it back once you do.
Uh-huh. Look at the Jets right now. Look at the position.
Zach Wilson is refusing to go back to being a starter.
Right, they pulled him out, and now it's like we want you to go back in
today. They cut Tim Boyle today.
They cut Tim Boyle, and they brought in Brett Rippon because Brett Rippon knows Nathaniel Hackett. But yeah, Zach Wilson literally is looking and saying nope, because he understands they've done him dirty. They did him dirty with all respect. Even though you bring in Nathaniel Hackett to guide Aaron Rodgers, Nathaniel Hackett clearly can't do it as a play caller, right? He can't elevate an offense and players beyond what they are, right? Look at the Broncos this year compared to the Broncos last year. I mean, is it great? No. Is it better? Miles better, right? You're maximizing what you have. It isn't perfect what you possess, but you're maximizing that, right? It's hilarious, but Zach Wilson's like, nope. I do wonder, there was that shot of Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers standing on the sideline together on Sunday. There are some conversations going on between the two of them, I think, as far as what to do if a situation like this happens. But this is the thing. If they had kept Zach Wilson in there, this wouldn't be happening. He'd still be their quarterback, right? That is something you do not do. That benching, generally speaking, with rare exceptions, you can't take back.
Yep.
So that's what I mean when I say that is the last desperate bullet you'd fire if you're the Broncos. And I don't think they're going to get there. I'll be honest with you. I've said that a lot today, even though I'm always honest. I don't know why I lean on that crutch as a phrase. That's the second time I've
We
said
all
that
we
today.
all have those though, right? Mine used to be anyway. I'll catch myself
That phrase is a
sometimes still
crutch.
doing
That
that.
crutch is a phase. God.
Sometimes you
I
feel
get
like
my
that.
words backwards like Yoda sometimes, right?
Right. See, Mace, this is where I feel I'm a bad influence on you. Like you're a good
How so?
influence on me, but then I'm like you're around me, and then you're gonna start talking backwards and messing up the English language. So it
I'm a
happens.
good influence on everybody, I think.
Good. That's the way to be, right?
I try to be.
That's the way to be. You are Dr. Feelgood, as our pot stoner
I'm
degenerate
the one who
Jason
makes you feel
says.
all right. I'm the one you call Dr. Feelgood. I think I'll stop right there.
Yeah. He's gonna be your Frankenstein.
Oh, you did it. Very good. Very
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
That was Motley
Well,
Crue, right?
yes, sir.
Oh, good. So
That
I
is
get my
correct.
hair metal bands of the '80s mixed up sometimes.
Yeah,
You know,
it's one
sometimes
of
you
those.
confuse your White Snake, your Motley Crue, your Rats.
Well, I celebrate all their entire catalog, so I do not confuse them. But those are my jams, man. That and Bay Area thrash metal. So
Okay.
yeah, Testament, Exodus, Death
You
Angel.
look like a thrash metal kind of guy.
Yeah, I even got my hair back today. So let me
Yeah.
let my hair down. We'll talk more about this Broncos team, Mace. But it's not time to panic. And like you said, I don't think we're going to get to the Wilson benching because he'll play just good enough. He'll do like he did on the 5-game win streak, where he's efficient,
Yeah.
he's effective. You're not going to get the turnovers all the time. But I don't think Russ goes into this spiral where Stidham becomes an option.
Well, the other thing about Russell Wilson, whether we can debate the merits of his mental philosophy. He's very big on the whole thing of staying neutral, right? Neutral does help you when you're in a moment like this. And when you're coming off a game where you have 3 interceptions, the ball's in your hands, and things go askew, it gives him and this team a chance to get out of this. And that's the thing. We can't emphasize this enough. This is still in the process of happening. Everyone's like, well, what do you know? What do you know? I mean, we don't know right now. We don't know.
Right.
And that's why I point out the Joe Flacco example. There's plenty of time to change things for Russell Wilson. We didn't know after 5 wins in a row, right? We didn't know then, and we were expressing the same sort of informed skepticism as we are today. I don't think our tone has changed appreciably after this past game, except that now you have an end to that streak of not throwing interceptions and all that. And now you have a moment from which he's going to have to bounce himself back if he's to get this thing going.
Right. Are we good today? Are we wrapped? Is something Broncos country bringing up JJ McCarthy? We're probably going to see McCarthy this January, so you're never going to want to miss Orange Blue today, baby. We're the only show that's going to give you locker room inside information and all up in the videos from the locker room, both post game and during the week. We're the only show that does that. We're the only show that does the Shrine Game and the Senior Bowl. And not just to go play grab ass and play catch up with everybody. We're actually there to work. One of my things that annoys me so much about the Senior Bowl is everyone's there to play catch up. And I'm like, that's why I go hide in the stands. It's like, I'm there to watch practice. Like, let me work. I'll talk to you at Saucy Q. Right now, I'm going to put in the work. So Mason and I are there. We'll be seeing all of these quarterbacks and be giving you the insight and information that you only get on Orange and Blue today.
You've got your Saucy Q, I've got my oyster houses, but it's the same general point, right?
Yeah.
There's a time and place for that, but that time is not out there in the grandstands at South Alabama watching practice. That's the time to actually work and study so we can break all these guys down for you and tell you who's who and what's what. Hey, because some of those guys we talked about, look what they're doing now. And even like guys that we didn't see. I mean, we were telling you all about Keaton Mitchell, right? out of East Carolina back in April. Look how
Demario Douglas, Zay Flowers. We actually saw Tommy DeVito as well.
Yep, we did.
It's good.
Didn't have a lot of good things to say about Tommy DeVito, but we saw him.
No, we did see him. I mean, we saw
Tommy
Block 30
DeVito and Aiden O'Connell at the Shrine practice.
at the Shrine Bowl, yep, in Vegas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Zay Flowers.
And this year it's going to be in Frisco.
I got a buddy of mine who he's like he trains like startup restaurant managers, but his company has a restaurant in the Star. Is that what they call it? The Star, right?
Yeah, the Cowboys facility. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll get Dan together with us and see if we can get a nice meal for free.
Yeah. Maybe, hey,
I'm all about free meals.
We should see if we can do our show from there.
Okay.
Maybe that's part of the deal, like a free meal, but we'll give you some pub.
Okay. Hey, I'll take that.
The food's good. I mean, I can't imagine be recommending a place with bad grub.
Right. And it's in the Star. Yeah. It's in Jerry's world, so that's where we'll be.
Wonder if they do a good Frito pie.
Are you going to drive from Frisco to Mobile? I'm considering driving.
I don't know, because my driving part of it may be down the other way after Senior Bowl to go to Florida, perhaps.
Okay.
To go see the folks. So I don't know if that's going to be something I do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
Look at us having travel plan talk on there.
Frisco to Mobile. That seems like a long drive.
Maybe. I love road trips though. I do
too, but I make a lot of other road trips. I think I may just want to get on the bird.
Yeah, I do the road trip thing like once or twice a year. You do it like once a month.
Yeah. Gives you time to think, but sometimes you can have too much time to think, right?
Exactly. Sometimes you can overthink it. That's right. Okay, that's a wrap for today's program. He's Andrew Mason. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. We're saying help us out with the YouTube thing. We're growing our YouTube channel. If you've commented down below, I think I got that right, this side. If you've commented down below or on the side, comment down below. And I'll try to jump in the comments a little bit later, but that really helps the YouTube algorithm. So does Mace's automatically started video. But YouTube algorithm is our overlord. So please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. He's Mace. I'm Cease. OBT is a BFD. We appreciate you all. Stay tuned. And forever and always, please stay frosty.